Good morning. My name is Karen Peck, and I serve as trustee on your DuPage UU Church Board of Trustees. We want to welcome everyone this morning to our open and inclusive virtual community. As Unitarian Universalists, we hold that there are many spiritual paths to truth and meaning and pledge to support one another as we explore these paths. We're so glad that you're able to find us and join us for our live streamed service today. Please check the church website, dupageuchurch.org, for updates. If you search under DuPage UU Church on Facebook, you will also find a number of ways to be in community with us as well. Today and each and every Sunday, join us for our Zoom social time following the service from 11:30 a.m. to 12 noon. Socialize with friends and ponder a question from Reverend Connie as we break into small groups. We hope to see you there. The Zoom link can be found on the Members tab at our website, the order of service, and in the weekly email. Your Board of Trustees would also like to invite you to Zoom with your board today at noon following social time conversation. Join your Board of Trustees on Zoom the second Sunday of every month for updates regarding your board's work towards goals you have helped define. We'd love to have you join us. The Zoom link can be found on the Members tab of our website and in the weekly church email. Thank you.
We come to love a church, the traditions, the history, and especially the people associated with it. And through these people, young and old, known and unknown, we reach out, both backward into history and forward into the future, to link together the generations in this imperfect but blessed community of memory and hope.
May the memories we gather here give us hope for the future. May the love that we share bring strength and joy to our hearts.
Please join us in singing our opening hymn, number 38, Morning Has Broken.
Morning has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken like the first bird. Praise for the singing, praise for the morning, praise for them springing fresh from the word. Sweet the rain's new voice, sunlit from heaven, like the first dew fall on the first grass. Praise for the sweetness of the wet garden, sprung in completeness where God's feet pass. Mine is the sunlight, mine is the morning, born of the one light, hidden saw play. Praise with elation, praise every morning, God's recreation of the new day.
Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
It is time to gather. Back in the year 2005, our church celebrated its 50th anniversary. And back then, I was asked to create a video that showed our history and the programming over the years, showing the people that were involved in different aspects of the church. And I created this video, and we were going to have a celebration dinner to celebrate this and show the video at this dinner. So I created this video, and it's about 18 minutes long. We're not going to see the 18-minute version. We're going to see the first 3 minutes of it, which was the history of this church. So we'll go ahead and see that video now.
It was early 1955 when Eugene Creeves and a group of 24 members left the First Congregational Church in Lisle and met in the home of Marion Hankinson to discuss the formation of a Unitarian Fellowship. The charter was signed by 48 people on April 10, 1955. Meeting briefly in the basement of the Yackley Building in Lisle, the church soon rented the one-room Bronsonville School, putting in many hours of labor to make it suitable for a church and Sunday school. In 1958, with inadequate Sunday school space and a growing membership of over 100, the congregation rented Sunday morning space at the Ben Franklin School in Glen Ellen. Although we enjoyed the spacious school, the idea of owning a building gradually became more appealing. So after a few years of searching, the Bronsonville School was purchased at an auction in February 1962 for $5,500. At that time, our church consisted of the fellowship room, a basement schoolroom, and the kitchen, which served as Reverend Cree's office. In 1965, a new addition provided space for a sanctuary, offices, and classrooms. The Flaming Chalice sculpture, which hangs on the front of the church, was donated in memory of charter member Art Campbell. Now with the added space, we had room for meetings, wedding receptions, and parties, and we had lots of parties. In 1988, the church grew to 200 members, and a capital campaign was started to add more space to the church. We finally broke ground in the summer of 1990 and celebrated the new addition in the fall of 1991.
So that takes us through the early 90s. And in the 90s, we grew to 300 members, and we had many starts and stops of trying to start for a new building addition. Finally, in 2007, we actually got a group together and started to the process for the current building that we're in. So 2008, we had plans of what it was going to look like. We started a capital campaign, but it took 4 years of dealing with zoning and annexing into the city of Naperville, and we broke ground in June of 2012, and we opened up on June 3rd, 2013, to the building that we're in now.
Please join us for our song, Affirmation.
Rejoice in love we know and share, in love and beauty everywhere. Rejoice in truth that makes us free, and in the good that yet shall be.
Today, we welcome these new members who have chosen to make a commitment to the congregation by signing the membership book virtually, affirming their support for DuPage Unitarian Universalist Church and of Unitarian Universalist values. You'll find brief bios of the new members in the order of service. As we begin, I'll say the names of our participants, and I'll ask them to wave to identify themselves. We have new members Stephanie Quirk, Mary Dykus, Cindy Tucker, Ken Cook, and Sheila Cook. And from the Congregational Life team, representing themselves and representing the congregation, we have Bob Harris and Kelly Trombley Freitag. Congregational Life team.
Unitarian Universalism is a way of faith that celebrates diverse beliefs. Each one of us is free to discern for ourselves what we believe about the meaning of life and other important questions.
Enter into religious community to become part of something larger than ourselves, to both nurture and challenge each other and ourselves as we travel together on our life's journeys.
And on behalf of the congregation,
We welcome you into membership in DuPage Unitarian Universalist Church.
Knowing that we are changed by your presence among us.
new members.
We gladly join with you
in a spirit of goodwill
and cooperation,
knowing that we too are changed.
And all.
We covenant together as members of this congregation,
bringing our gifts and needs to this community.
Together, we support DuPage Unitarian Universalist Church through our contributions and our participation.
We pledge to do our part to create and sustain
this community of encouragement and strength
for each other and for the world.
Congratulations, everyone.
Thank you. We made it. We made it. Been quite a journey.
We hold each other in our hearts and minds with all our joys and all our sorrows. And we have a joy to share today. Laura Cooper and Kevin Malquini share the happy news that Brianna Rose Cooper Malquini was born Friday, November 12th at 10:04 a.m. She weighed 8 pounds, 9 ounces, and is 19 inches long. Baby Bree and Laura are recovering well, and Brianna and her big sister Eleanor are looking forward to finally meeting each other. May we find joy in our connections with each other and in the pleasures that life holds. We remember those experiencing losses of various kinds and those facing health challenges. We are aware that many are faced with heightened difficulties presented by these times that continue to be challenging for all. Let us care for one another and for ourselves in all the ways we can. As we hold each other in our hearts and minds with all our joys and all our sorrows, whether spoken or unspoken, let's take a moment to be quiet together. Prayer for a Church by Teresa Novak. Divine Spirit, love of life, hope eternal, compassion's heart, bless this church and those who are this church as we gather in love and in hope. Guide our actions so that our dreams will linger with us, ever growing closer, ever dreaming greater. Grant us an abundance of time to give freely, of resources to share, of new souls to know. We are grateful for our bounty. May we work to bless others and to bless this church, this congregation, this community, this planet, and may it ever be so.
Oh, had I a golden over the waters, I'd reach my magic band to every human being, so they would understand, so they'd understand.
Ladies, that was beautiful. Each month we share our offerings with an organization nominated by the congregation and selected by our community outreach team. Our special collection recipient for this November is Holiday Meals on Wheels. In a moment, we'll see a video describing their work. Donations to support the work of the DuPage Unitarian Universalist Church and Holiday Meals on Wheels can be made through the church website. Contributions are given and received in a spirit of generosity and gratitude.
Every day, we see the difference your donations make to the lives of our seniors. Your generous support allows the DuPage Senior Citizens Council to fulfill on our mission to initiate, deliver, monitor, and coordinate services that promote the ability of older persons to live their lives in dignity. We are a volunteer-driven organization. Our small staff, supported by our caring and committed volunteers, allow for the depths of services that we provide. But it's your donations that make the difference. Meals on Wheels is our most visible service. Many seniors who live alone find it difficult to prepare their own meals. Without this service, our seniors would miss meals, become malnourished, their health would deteriorate, and they end up in the hospital. In addition to delivering meals, the DSCC provides a unique well-being check with emergency follow-up procedures in place if needed. Our well-being check service ensures that the seniors are mentally and physically healthy and that their home environment is safe and secure. Think of the peace of mind knowing that loved ones are cared for. Letting a senior know that they really matter, that someone cares, is the cornerstone of our friendly visits and assistance service. This service incorporates socialization and helps with small tasks. Many friendships have developed from these visits, which means so much to our seniors. For seniors who live alone, keeping up with minor home repairs, the DSCC provides the Minor Home Repair Service. Our relationship with the seniors affords them peace of mind. Yard cleanup service is seasonally available. To keep our seniors' property safe and presentable, we rake leaves, pick up any yard waste or debris, and remove it. While we're there, we also do a well-being check to make sure that everything's okay. The DSCC also provides ongoing health and wellness education and matter of balance fall prevention. It's designed to keep our seniors healthy and in the know. Our community dining service is for the many seniors who can still get out and socialize. It offers seniors the opportunity to gather together, share a meal, and make friends. We provide an ever-changing menu of fresh items. Many of our community dining locations even feature ethnic foods and cultural themes, bringing even more fun to our seniors' lives. Our intergenerational activities help support our seniors in other ways, usually performed by young people, be it plays, concerts, greeting cards, or small gifts. The seniors appreciate that someone was thinking of them. Pets are important and beneficial to many seniors' well-being. For some, providing for their beloved pet is a challenge. Our pet care and food assistance service helps by providing pet food and veterinary visits. Hi, I'm Mary Vandeveld, and I'm one of the many volunteers that help to provide the services for the DuPage Senior Citizens Council. It's your donations that make all of these services possible. As the county continues to grow, so do the needs of our growing senior population. Your support of the council allows us to keep up with the increasing demand. A donation of $3,000 will feed a senior for an entire year. Your donation of $1,000, less than the cost of your daily trip to Starbucks for a year, will provide 100 lonely seniors with friendly visits. For a small donation of $250, the price of a nice dinner, you will feed a senior for a month. Your donation truly does make a difference. Please donate now.
Love is something if you give it away, give it away, give it away. Love is something if you give it away, you end up having more. It's just like a magic penny, hold it tight and you won't have any. Lend it, spend it and you'll have so many, they'll roll all over the floor. For love is something if you give it away, give it away, give it away. Love is something if you give it away, you end up having more. So let's go dancing till the break of day, and if there's a piper we can pay. For love is something if you give it away, you end up having more.
Now we'll be hearing some stories from the history of this congregation, the history as experienced by some of your members through the decades.
I'm Lindy Spreetsma. I probably have the longest association with this church of any current member. I first came to the church in 1956 as a 5-year-old attending Sunday school. At that time, the church was holding Sunday services in Ben Franklin Elementary School in Glen Ellen. Church services were held in the gym. Sunday school was held in a few of the classrooms. One of my earliest memories was having a Sunday school science lesson taught by May Avery, who worked as a scientist at Argonne National Laboratory. I also remember classes about Jesus, the man, using the book Jesus the Carpenter's Son. In junior high, I was very interested to learn about other religions as part of the church across the street class. We attended different religious services every week. We went to a Buddhist temple, a synagogue, Catholic, Lutheran, Methodist, Congregationalist churches, a Quaker meeting house, and a Hindu temple. What a contrast that was to all my Catholic friends who were learning only about Catholic religious beliefs. I became a member in 1991 after my divorce. I wanted my son Edwin, who was 5, to be raised as a UU since his father is Catholic. What a difference that early UU training made when, as a teenager, Edwin's father took him to Catholic services. Edwin brought a questioning attitude to his father's religion. Edwin was able to decide for himself whether what was presented fit his beliefs. Since my mother was also a member of the church, this gave each of us an opportunity to be part of the close church community. We each volunteered on a wide variety of committees based on our different interests at different phases of our lives. It was through volunteering and working on committees with a common cause that we developed many deep friendships with other UUs. This wonderful community joined my family in creating memorable celebrations at the church for her 75th and 90th birthdays. In the hard times, the church community helped to support my mother through her last difficult year. When my mother died, so many members of this beloved community offered the gift of their memories of her at the memorial service, providing much needed comfort and solace. I have found that what I get is based on what I give.
Good morning. We are Jane and Joe Gano, longtime members of the church here. Jane and I joined the DuPage Unitarian Church, as it was called in those years, in May of 1977, when we moved to Illinois from Atlanta, where we were members of the UU Congregation of Atlanta, which we had joined in 1972. The UUCA was a much larger church, but we felt very welcomed and very comfortable in this church as we settled in. The membership, as I recall, was growing during the 70s, and when we joined, it was a little over 100 members. The building stopped at the entry foyer. There were no bathrooms downstairs. That area was the largest classroom area and held the nursery. The budget was close to $30,000, and there was annual pledging, sometimes more successful in some years than others. The financial condition of the church was good but not very strong, due primarily to the small membership, as it was hard to achieve a critical mass with small numbers. Also, the economic conditions of the late 1970s were not wonderful. There was no board. Things were happening under the auspices of the Coordinating Council. Our minister, Gene Creeves, the founding minister, had 2 Sunday services a month and a third one, which was a book review. There was talk back after each service, and the 4th Sunday was a lay-led program. We only had program issues when there were 5 Sundays in a month. There was always a deep interest in science, as many of our members were associated with either Fermilab or Argonne. In the late 70s, we organized an energy series, a sequence of meetings in which one of the more scientific members of the church would delve into a particular area. These were always well attended and informative. Social action also had a high level of interest, and much of it was energized by the political environment of the time, not very much unlike the present era. UUWA and RE were also very vibrant programs, and seeking parents to teach the classes was a challenge then, as it sometimes seems to be presently. The most significant event of the end of the 70s, and which launched us into a new era here, was the retirement and resignation of Gene Creeves, the founding minister, in June of 1979.
As Joe said, when we joined the church in May of '77, the Unitarian Church did not hold services during the summer months. Our family of 4 saw an announcement in the church bulletin that there was be an all-church campout in Michigan. We loaded up our pop-up, thinking this would be a great way to meet friends, since we hadn't met many people at that point. By the end of that weekend, we had 50 new friends. Friendships that have lasted a lifetime. Over my years here, I've been very involved in many of the social aspects of the church. And one thing that from the early days that I remember is our annual dinners that were the kickoff for our yearly pledge drive. The dinner would be held in the Founders Room, using the area that is now the upstairs bathroom was our kitchen. This was a time when we could all seat all of our members in that area. As we grew, the membership and added more space, we hosted the dinners in Creeves Hall until our membership outgrew the space. Maybe we'll rethink that.
Good morning. I'm Gene Atkin. Upon moving to this area, Carolyn and I visited 2 UU congregations. The most important factor in our decision to join DuPage Church was our 2 kids agreeing that they felt much more welcome in RE here than at the other congregation. On our 3rd visit, the membership chair met us, learned that we were previous Unitarians, just happened to have some membership cards in her purse, and secured our pledge. With no further ado, we were members. The Reverend Bill Mundy, long-winded, soon resigned, and Reverend Jerry Wright proved to be a dedicated first interim minister. DuPage then had about 150 members. Annually, a widow with a large home invited the entire congregation for a December holiday party. And as Jane mentioned, each July, another couple had the whole church over for a camping weekend at their Michigan acreage on the Muskegon River. Members brought tents, trailers, or mobile homes. We enjoyed daytime fun with rented canoes and inflated inner tubes and song-filled evening campfires. Early on, the nominating committee recruited me to serve as clerk for the congregation's governing coordinating council. Rambling committee reports often dominated monthly agendas. Several times, the council discussed somehow reorganizing itself, but no idea inspired a consensus. From my minutes, I wrote a synopsis of each meeting for the monthly newsletter. In my second year of that, they invited me to stand for election to a then one-year term as president. Re-elected for a second year, I served 1986 to 88. The Reverend Kendall Gibbons had become the settled minister at DuPage in 1983, and so I was her second parish president. Often over lunch, Kendall and I exchanged ideas. Her magnificent legacy to this church includes moving DuPage toward paying our fair share to the UA, joining local ministerial groups, and steering us into our socially responsible endowment fund. Our most pressing problem in those years was obtaining space for anticipated growth. We were already dealing with crowded coffee hours in the founder's room, inadequate subdivided basement RE classrooms, two small offices upstairs above the front entry, a tiny kitchen in the current washroom space off the founder's room, and insufficient storage. Building and fundraising committees met for months, listed our needs, and then painfully cut those lists to what we thought we could afford. No new sanctuary was foreseen. My last act before passing the gavel to my successor was to sign the contract to begin to construct the Creeves Hall addition to our growing facility.
I'm Bill Kovacs, and I've got the 90s. Agnes and I joined the church in 1991. We moved here from Des Moines, Iowa, with our two children, Wendy and Mary Helen. We had belonged to the Des Moines church and soon found DUUC. The primary attraction was Youth RE, but I enjoyed the Sunday services as well. Kendall Gibbons, the minister, had a strong humanist interest, and one member, Mike Werner, was a former president of the American Humanist Association. He actively promoted the humanist point of view around the church back then in many ways, and to be honest, it's an emphasis that I've recently missed. The good news is that our product is great. It works. Wendy and Mary Helen completed the RE program. Both Wendy and Mary Helen really were influenced by that experience growing up here. By the way, Stephanie Hughes was Wendy's mentor, and they still remain in touch. Dave Brummel, the current mayor of Warrenville, was Mary Helen's mentor. Today, Wendy is on the RE committee and was on the governance task force. And I hope you've seen our grandchildren, Sasha and Ethan, enthusiastically running around Creeves Hall. In 1992, Kendall, Steve Tewald, and I did the work to establish our endowment fund. It was started with a generous initial contribution from Elliot Pollister, and today, 29 years later, we have almost $300,000 in our endowment fund. Please consider including our endowment fund in your family estate planning discussions. I got some chuckles here. I'm an investment lawyer. I'm a shameless marketer, okay? I'm supposed to speak up for what I believe in. Kendall was the minister during the 90s. Her Sunday services included a feature that no other minister has used since. She ended by saying that the minister doesn't have the final word and welcomed comments about her sermon. Some of the most interesting comments I have ever heard about religion resulted. In 1994, Marcia Jett was hired as the director of RE. 2 years later, the library and bookstore were started. I am very fond of our little library, and if you haven't browsed it, I suggest that you do so. I admit I enjoy creature comforts and remember when the Lathrop family generously paid for the installation of air conditioning in Creeves Hall. All during the 90s, the men's group facilitated by Ed Clark had active meetings attended by 15 to 20 men. We met twice a month. We read serious books together and discussed them. Today, the men's group still meets twice a month. We're down to 6 members, and we could use some new members, so that's my second commercial. So far, pleasant memories. A painful memory is the service I participated in on March 31st, 1996. It was entitled Interrupted Paths. I was one of the 3 speakers talking about the trauma of being unemployed. I have a copy of my homily in my church files at home, and I reread it to prepare for this little speech. Doing that brought back a lot of unpleasant memories that I have not thought about in a long time. But I recovered and resumed my career as an investment lawyer, which is why I am standing here today, participating and enjoying it. I assure you this is a great place to be involved.
Hello, I'm Linda Zetterberg. When Sherry and I joined DuPage UU Church in the 2000s, the church was experiencing a change in leadership, not an uncommon event here. Whitney was leaving, Lisa Presley was selected as the interim minister, and Emmy Lou Belcher would become the new settled minister. It was a time of hope and enthusiasm. Our membership was expanding beyond the capacity of our building. I've heard this theme throughout the talk here. And we began brainstorming our future. We saw several options. First, we could stay where we were. Second, we could build an addition to the current church. A third option was to seed another church in DuPage County. The final option we considered was to sell the current building and look for something bigger. After much debate, as you can see, we built the sanctuary. This entire process took years to complete, and we are grateful to all the members who stepped up to help in this endeavor. Needless to say, this building project dominated the life of this church for years. On a more personal level, the congregation was a very warm and welcoming group of people. Sherry and I had recently come out of the closet. The talk in the lesbian community was that if we took the chance to come out, our straight friends and family would see that we were not so threatening and would be more likely to accept us. We took a chance on DuPage UU Church. What an experience. Our first Sunday, we were told of a welcoming congregation class starting that evening. We were encouraged to attend, which we did. Many of our now best friends were members of that class. Most were straight. The discussions in class were respectful, and we all offered our experiences and asked questions to gain understanding. It was a marvelous opportunity and one I will never forget. The friendships formed in that class led to encouragement to join various committees and become increasingly involved in the life of the church. I sincerely hope that the new people interested in our church will stick around to experience the caring environment when we can all come together once again.
Last one. Hi, I'm Becky Trombley-Freitag, and my pronouns are she, her. If we want to get technical, the decade I joined the church was in 1990 when I was 3, but I became an official pledging member in 2014 when I graduated college, so let's just stick with that. I got 2010s, and wow, what didn't happen in the 2010s? I mean, personally, I graduated high school and then college and returned home. We as a community built a new sanctuary and moved into it. We went into search for a new minister twice, and we've weathered tragedies and triumphs together. But if I'm asked to distill this decade into just a few memories, I think I would have to say I have two distinct and distinctly different memories of this decade. One of them was the day after the results of the 2016 election came in. Reverend Tom organized an impromptu vigil to gather together to cope with the news. I remember very clearly all of us sitting quietly in a dimmed sanctuary at twilight as people came up to the microphone at the front and talked about how scared they were for themselves, for their neighbors and friends and family. I remember it being at once comforting and scary that so many other people had no idea what to make of this either. And then I remember that there were elders who got up and reminded us that we, as a country and people, have been through dark and terrible times of presidency before. And as someone who had never seen anything like this, it made me feel a little less like the end of the world was here. I left feeling still scared, but hopeful. I also remember the influx of new visitors we had that winter. My second focal memory was DUUC hosting the Parkland Kids as a stop on their nationwide tour to advocate for gun control. There was an absolutely electric energy in the sanctuary, packed with congregants and members of the community and news cameras. People gathered and listened and cheered, and most importantly, they asked what they could do. I also remember the ring of volunteers from the church outside that wrapped around the building to make sure no one disrupted the inside proceedings. I left feeling empowered and united. A lot happened in the decade leading up to now. Divisive things, terrifying things, disheartening things, just a lot of things. Decades are long. I mean, obviously, they're 10 years, but I've only been around for about 3 of them, so give me a break for just noticing. But something about this past one, with its intensely contrasting ups and downs, I've come to realize I'm not worried about us. We as a congregation want to do good in our community, in the world, and to each other. There are arguments, there are problems, heck, there are pandemics, but we are here because we want to be, because we love to be, because we make this place what it is, just as it makes us part of what we are. When I am frightened, I look to the future, because I see you in it.
Today we've honored not only the past of this congregation, but also the present and the future. The creators and recreators, the founders and re-founders of this church are you who are its members. Of course, the stories you've heard today are not all the stories. You who are the members of this church have your own experiences, your own stories about the way things have been for you. Over the years, this congregation has experienced challenges, difficulties, and painful losses. And you've experienced successes, the overcoming of difficulties, and new beginnings. Today, we've honored your history as a congregation as lived by its members. And history, of course, is not just what happened in 1955 or 1989 or any other year. History is not just about the way things used to be, but about the memories and experiences that you carry with you today and that you create and carry with you into the future. Today, we've shared the news of the birth of a new baby among you. We've welcomed 5 new members into the congregation. And as of today, they're not really new members anymore. They're just members, just like everybody else. 3 o'clock today on Zoom, congregants will have the opportunity to reflect on your experience at DuPage Unitarian Universalist Church and your hopes for the congregation's future in a play shop, even more fun than a workshop, titled Looking Back, Looking Forward. You'll be asked to respond to provocative questions in increments of exactly 6 words, and to share your responses as you wish. The focus of the event is on sharing the play shop experience rather than on gathering data. And the more people participate, the more fun and engaging this experience can be for all. The Zoom link can be found on the church website in the members section. The experiences of you who are its members and friends are the collective experience, and thus the living history of DuPage Unitarian Universalist Church. And it's up to you to build on the past and create your future together. Our closing hymn now is Let There Be Peace on Earth, one of the hymns historically sung by this congregation. We now extinguish the chalice flame, and we carry its light in our hearts. And may we live our lives fully and creatively so that we may be a blessing to ourselves, to each other, and to all those whose lives we touch.
you.